What's up, y'all? Kyle Hamilton here. I want to give a quick shout out to Lucas, Connor, and Ryan in the Week 0 podcast.
Jackson rolling out, 3rd and 7 after the penalty, and it's a completion to Kuma. He's still running. Kuma breaks free against a tired defense as the Hokies deliver the dagger here in Tallahassee. Empty look for Richardson. Oh, that is danger! Oh my! Keidron Smith cuts inside, and he's gonna pick six it in the swamp. Cat scratch fever Smith.
DJ is picked off, intercepted again by Benjamin Morrison. Here goes Morrison down the sideline. Can he go? Yes, he can. Touchdown, pick six, Benjamin Morrison.
Nix drops back underneath. Touchdown, Ducks. Wow. Chase Pelton.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the Gold Standard. We missed last week, but we are back for another episode of the Gold Standard with your host, Ryan Favell, and my co-host over here, Sean at ND Forever on Twitter. Sean, man, how are you doing? It's Ohio State week, and we've already had a great start to the week.
Tomorrow's Thursday. We're 2 days away, man.
Exactly.
I'm ready. I'm so ready. Oh, it's exciting. And you're going to the game.
Yeah, we are. Me and the Week 0 podcast boys, we are going to the game. We will be there live from South Bend doing our Week 0 podcast with a special guest, Logan Zaldate, the 2024 wide receiver commit, now a 4-star out of California. He will be joining us for the guest pick'ems tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But, man.
Are we surprised? He's a 4-star?
No. I've seen stuff that he could very easily be the best receiver in the class. I know that's hard to say with Cam Williams, but scouts actually absolutely love Logan Zaldate. So I think his rankings will only soar throughout his senior year. So, Sean, we got started the week off with a bang. Monday morning, I believe, when we got the news that 5-star caliber quarterback Deuce Knight out of Mississippi committed to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. First things first, Sean, what were your thoughts on this? Because I know originally we thought it was going to be Bear. Another site had a crystal ball in for Deuce. But what was your reaction when you first found out that we landed the elite prospect out of Mississippi?
Surprised. I mean, I'm sure everyone saw that Mike Singer put in a prediction for Bear to go to Notre Dame. Bear visited that weekend, and it felt like a foregone conclusion that, I mean, everyone knew that it would be the first come, first serve for quarterback. And after Bear visiting this weekend, I mean, with all the news, I thought it was Bear. And then Deuce Knight just came out of nowhere and surprised everyone. A little pressure on him. I'm sure if they didn't recruit Bear, he probably would still be uncommitted, but I like it. He's already doing a great job recruiting. He's going to a Ohio State game. He's trying to get a bunch of recruits to Notre Dame. He's active on social media. He's a great quarterback. I like Bear's floor better than Deuce's floor, but I like Deuce's ceiling better than I like Bear's ceiling. And that's okay, because I feel like we're in the 2024 class, we're going to have a quarterback in CJ Carr with a really good floor. So why not get someone with as much potential as what Deuce Knight could be? He looks outstanding. He's got such a big arm talent, an amazing, great quarterback. He's 5-star caliber, but I think he's going to stay a 4-star, high 4-star. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback. I wouldn't put him at 5-star yet. There's Bryce Underwood, a few other good quarterbacks.
Well, actually, right now, if the rankings were to end today for the 2025 class, he would be a 5-star based off of how they rank. Most sites, I believe the top 32 or I can't remember the exact number. I think the top 32 though usually gets 5-star status.
Yeah,
So
and I mean it's a big get. Quarterback has just been great. I mean, we went from getting Stephen Jelly, Ian Book type players, even though I felt like Tyler Buckner was elite as a high school prospect. Before everyone knows he changes throwing motion, injuries, etc., and looked terrible at Bama. But I mean, now we're recruiting great at quarterback. People are worried and comparing. I actually saw Singer mention this, and respect to Singer for saying this. People are comparing, oh, will he stick? It's just another Dante Moore. Singer said this perfectly. First of all, it's not another Dante Moore. Dante Moore was silent commit, still going to other official visits, still not wanting to commit publicly. He committed publicly, right? He publicly committed to Notre Dame. He's already recruiting on social media for Notre Dame, which Dante Moore didn't do. I think Deuce Knight sticks. He's already sticking it out, looking for a great class. We already got a great start to the class. This is a great get, and he'll probably be our highest ranked commit for the next year's class.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I thought, I liked Bear, but I honestly thought, realistically, I think the staff wanted Deuce the most of it. I think that he was obviously their top target. He's the highest rated Notre Dame quarterback commit since Gunnar Keel back in 2012. This kid is absolutely electric. My comparison for him, just based off of his body type and his style of play, he reminds me so much of just a little bit of a taller Lamar Jackson. I've seen that take a lot, but just the way he runs, his speed, his agile, how agile he is when he leaves the pocket, he takes off and runs.
He reminds me, if I had to compare to a Notre Dame player, with his speed, a less turnover heavy Everett Golson. I thought about like a Wimbush or a Buckner with their speed, but he's pretty speedy like Golson was. He's really good with his legs. I just feel like Deuce is a better arm.
And he's also taller. I believe Golson was only like 5'11". Deuce is, the kid's almost 6'5".
Yeah, it's great. I agree. I mean, the staff wanted Deuce before Bear, but they played it smart this time. They didn't, which we're lucky we rebounded with Kenny Minchie, who the Charles Powers, the guy who does the rankings for On3, said that if Kenny Minchie was in a stacked quarterback class in 2023, if he was in the 2024 class and he didn't get hurt, he felt like he'd be a top 5 quarterback in the 2024 class. So, which I heard him saying on the Mike Singer podcast for On3 Blue and Gold. But, this is a great get. Like I said, Bear, they wanted, they didn't do the Dante Moore thing. They put all the eggs in the basket. Then they did great by recruiting both, putting pressure on Deuce. And if they didn't get Deuce, they got a really good quarterback in Bear.
And you know what? Like it almost like CJ Carr is a big time recruiter, but I don't know. I just get the sense that Deuce is a little bit more of a kind of in your face recruiter than CJ Carr was. CJ Carr was more of like, hey, we'd love to, come join me over in South Bend. But he wasn't like as in your face and kind of tagging every single big time. Deuce Knight's already doing that. Tagging CJ May, tagging Kelvion Riggs, who's a top linebacker recruit for Notre Dame. And I think another thing that people don't talk about enough with this commitment is Notre Dame doesn't pull too many kids out of SEC country. And the fact that they pull an elite level recruit, and I will bet money that Deuce Knight will end up finishing his high school career as a 5-star by the time he signs his letter of intent. You don't think that's going to speak volumes to other elite prospects in SEC country that, hey, this 5-star kid from, SEC country, he went to Notre Dame. Why don't I go play with him?
Yeah, Lord.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've already seen it with a lot of recruits that are like, man, I want to get up to Notre Dame to see them play Ohio State and USC now.
Notre Dame beats Ohio State this weekend, which we'll get there. That's going to be huge for recruiting.
Oh, for sure. Could you imagine how monumental that game would? We'll get into it, but think about that for a second. But any final thoughts on Deuce? Do you think that
It's tough for me to think that he finishes as a 5-star. I think he can in terms of talent, but I know he had some things going on with he transferred to a different high school, but then had to unenroll from that high school, correct? So
due to family issues, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that could affect anything, but I don't know if he's missed any games or if that hurts his
So
development.
he cannot. So he just transferred back to his old high school, which is what we're watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
He won't be eligible for the next 2 games to play, but he will be able to play after the next 2 games.
Okay, which I'm excited to see how he does.
But yeah, I mean, let me ask you this because I know he's actually best friends with Lipscomb Academy's Caleb Beasley, who is still a top of the board target left for Notre Dame and a big flip candidate. Do you think him committing to Notre Dame? Do you think that Deuce is kind of in the ear of Caleb Beasley saying, "Hey, man, I know you're committed. I know what you said was past summer. Why don't you just take a visit with me to Notre Dame for the Ohio State game?" Do you think that Deuce can get that done, or
So
do you think it's kind of?
I know Scott's visiting, but I was going to ask: is he? I know that they were talking for months about him going to the Beasley going to the Ohio State game. Is that official yet or no?
So that was back then, but over the summer, I believe in July, Caleb Beasley said he was not taking any more visits.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he can get him out. I think Beasley's more likely to flip if he goes than Scott is. So, I mean, I would love a Scott flip.
So wait, Scott is officially visiting? I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, he's definitely visiting. He said that for months. I mean, he's committed to Ohio State. He lives in like Chicago. That's an easy drive to Notre Dame. Like he's definitely.
I didn't know if it was reported or not yet.
It was reported about a month or 2 ago.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, next up, we got another big-time recruit that Notre Dame landed on Tuesday. Seemed like this one was just kind of, waiting in the wings. It just was kind of a matter of time. I made a joke on the message boards that what if Lambert was just like one of those elite recruits, kind of like on NCAA 14, that just decides, you know what, I'm not going to commit anywhere. That's what it kind of felt like because he was supposed to commit all the way back before his first game on September 7th.
Yeah, you told me.
Here we are.
Just so y'all know, Ryan messaged me like he said he was going to commit for senior season. It's his senior season. I think we'll get a commitment today. And I was like, nothing. And
I know he's not the type of kid to talk a lot to the media, but it seemed like after the Deuce Knight commit, he just kind of commitment. He's like, "Hey, man, this is the perfect time." So another one thing after the other. But Sean, what are your thoughts on this commitment, and what do you think about Guerby Lambert?
I think he's a true tackle. I think he's better than if I go ranking tackles in recent memory. Emil Wagner. I think he's better than Charles. Was it Jagasol? I think he's a Blake Fisher type of talent, and I think he can come in even as a freshman. When they leave, let's say Fisher comes back one year, or Alt leaves this year, or both leave. He's not going to be. He'll be a freshman, right? So I think he's the type of talent that could start as a true tackle right away. I really see him, at least if he's not starting as a freshman, he's starting as a sophomore.
So I mean, you think he could be the next Blake Fisher at Notre Dame? Like Blake Fisher started that Week 1 game against Florida State.
They're so different. They really are in terms of personality and talent. Fisher's more of a people person, as we know. Guerby Lambert is more not for himself, but he's reserved. It's a great get. He's very talented. I think he can be like a Blake Fisher type of player as a freshman and start Week 1. Yeah. Do I compare him to Blake Fisher? No. I like Blake Fisher more as a prospect, just a little. I felt like he was more collegiate ready. But Guerby Lambert's more collegiate ready than. I mean, that's not saying much. It's not like being like, oh my God, he's not ready. Like Blake Fisher is a one of a kind talent. Like, I mean, if I compare Guerby Lambert to all the other offensive tackles that we've gotten in the last 5 years, I think he's more ready than all of them except for Blake Fisher. So I think he's ready to play as a freshman.
Now, where do you see Guerby projecting at Notre Dame? Do you think he's a first round talent type of guy? Because I know the rankings and stuff. He's a top 50 recruit, number 4 offensive tackle in the class. But I personally think he's one of those guys that is going to be a first round pick by the end of his Notre Dame tenure. Do you kind of see the same thing, or do you see him being kind of a late riser?
I see him as, if he starts like a freshman or sophomore, like I said, if you start as a freshman on the offensive line at Notre Dame, you're going to be at least at worst a second, third round pick. So yeah, I think he'll be a first rounder.
Okay. All right. And then the thing that we're all here for today, obviously it's Ohio State week.
Wait. Oh, we forgot to do it last week. So real quick before we go to this, I know y'all are waiting for it. Let's talk about Central Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, Central Michigan reaction. What were your thoughts on the game against CMU?
The one thing that pissed me off, and I kept tweeting it on Twitter, and I understand JT Bertrand was out. But, oh my God, it frustrated me with the 2 linebacker set, right? You'd have and then you'd have a safety come down occasionally for the third linebacker doing like cover 1, having 1 safety in the backfield, leaving for big plays. Why not? I know Snead struggled a lot, which is very surprising. But why not play Drake Bowen? Why not play Snead a little more? It's Central Michigan. And they just kept bringing a safety down and doing 2 linebackers, and we were getting shredded. And I did not like that at all. I got pissed because I was like,
it almost seemed like that Golden doesn't trust the young guys yet.
Well, he better, because next year,
exactly,
they're all starting because they're all gone.
That's what I don't understand is like, this is the second year in a row where I've noticed it. Last year it was kind of like, okay, I understand it, but let's be real here. Prince Colley is probably better than JD Bertrand and Maris Leofau. Like,
I'm Colley a little bit.
Prince Colley.
Actually, I really like Bertrand. And Maris Leofau this year looks like, I'm going to say this, people hated on him last year.
He's playing great this year.
He's playing great. He looks
like
I
think in terms of talent, I think Prince Colley he's faster, stronger, and just
how do you leave? For Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Prince Colley, he's injured now, so I don't even think he's playing for Vanderbilt this year. But you saw it when Prince Colley came in that game against North Carolina, and the first play he made was a tackle for loss against a running back for like a 5-yard loss. And you could just see the speed. When you got guys like Jalen Snead and you've got guys like Drake Bowen who are that talented, both of them were 5 stars at one point in their recruitment. Why aren't they seeing the field?
Let's be honest about Snead, though. He could have had a tackle for a running back for minus like 5 yards, and the running back fucked him up, and he got almost a first down. Snead did not look good at all in that game. He struggled tremendously against.
I think it's got to do with his size. He's not a
5-star talent. Yeah, I think he's more of a coverage type linebacker than like a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah type than he is a Prince Colley.
What I would like to see him do more is rush, because I think Jalen Snead with his speed, if he just was a little bit bigger, kind of like JOK did, he rushed, but he also dropped into coverage.
I think his speed's more fitting for coverage because he's got the size to where that doesn't really matter. I think Junior Tuihalamaka's fine at Viper for now. I wouldn't put Snead yet at rushing, especially with the bodies that we need at linebacker. Because let's be real, next year, who's starting? I think KVA as a freshman can start. You got Preston Zinner, Osbury, Bowen, right? It's Snead.
No, that's another thing. We haven't seen much of Jaden Osbury either, and that's kind of surprising to me because in the spring he was probably the second or maybe the best linebacker throughout spring ball with him and Drake Bowen. I want to see Osbury get more on because he is like if Jalen Snead was bigger and more sound as a linebacker.
I get it. when you got 3 super senior linebackers, you want them to play as much as you can, right? So I get it. You're worried about now, not the future. You want to win now. So
But when you're blowing out Central Michigan, or when it's a game that you should win. This game was never really in doubt.
This game was like what 20.
I know, but like, did you ever really feel like Notre Dame was actually going to lose this game at any point?
I did not. But when Hartman got his ankle twisted,
dude, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah,
how was that not a late hit or a roughing the passer? The dude, the dude, literally. I understand the part about the offensive lineman threw him into. Okay, I understand that, but after that, when he falls to the ground and he sits there and you see him with his hands on the turf, and then he immediately wraps up Sam Hartman's ankle and then twist, that should have been a penalty.
Dude, when Hartman then threw a 30-yard pass to Rico Flores and then looks at the camera and he's like, I was like, oh, bro, this dude is.
But when he limped off, I was like, oh, no.
I was like, right before Ohio State, we're fucked. I was like,
I was gonna be so pissed. And I did we ever get an injury update on Sam?
He did a press conference and he said he is just fine, ready for Ohio State.
His ankle's fine. He's no pain.
He
nothing.
said that he's like, I mean, I think he said something how he stayed in the game and threw some nice passes after, so he's fine. Everyone's healthy. Bertrand's coming
I just
back.
was a little worried because he had those 2 passes on that same drive, that same Rico Flores drive where he missed Great House over the middle and it was a little high, and then he missed. There was some other receiver he missed that was open.
He's got a week of practice now. I think he's going to be fine. Rest him a bit. I was worried too. I was like, is it gonna linger? But he said he was just fine. I mean, we're also gonna have Bertrand back this week, Rubio back this week. We're gonna have who else are we gonna have back this week? Oh, we're gonna have back Mitchell Evans this week.
DJ Brown is back.
DJ Brown's. We're full, man. We're full. We're ready.
You know what? Can I also say, I want to see more Thomas Harper.
He looks good. And I like that comment about the penalties thing. Yes, like Ryan was saying in the chat all day, pissed about all the penalties. Yes, these refs suck. I've never in my life seen one. Audric Estimé was definitely short of a first down. It wasn't even close.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going to say that. They're like, first down, review. First down. You review a review? I've never seen someone review a review ever.
Oh, what about the PI call on Mickey in the end zone, and he didn't even touch the guy?
And then they don't call PI after throwing the flag against who.
Did you watch? Did you see that though? Like there was this much separation from Jaden Mickey and the receiver, and they're just like, because he fit, and then Jaden Mickey's like, dude, what did I do?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I feel like penalties should be reviewed. That's just me.
Also, the one on Ben Morrison, I thought was pretty. The one on Ben Morrison was pretty cheap.
No, I agreed with Ben Morrison. He pushed him. He was talking. I don't disagree. I'm real with penalties. I'm gonna say if I feel like it's a good call or not. They should have called a pass interference on Central Michigan. I forgot who he was covering. I think it was Flores early in the game. But
Dante Kent had one too where there was a no call. But I mean, overall, I didn't like. Okay, we'll talk about this and then we'll get to the other. Riley Mills, I have an issue with you, my man. What the hell is going on? This is the 3rd year in a row we hear all this stuff about how Riley Mills is going to be the next stud at Notre Dame, going to be a great elite pass rusher at Notre Dame, has all the tools. He's throwing offensive linemen around in practice like rag dolls. He's running over Blake Fisher. He's throwing Joe Alt. Okay, cool. That's great. I love seeing the video on practice. Week 1 against Navy, no show. Week 2 against Tennessee State, no show. Week 3, no show. Week 4, no show. Where is this Riley Mills that we see at practice during game days? Where is he? Because if he's doing this against Blake Fisher and Joe Alt, who are going to be first-round draft picks this year. Both of them could be. Why aren't you doing this against trash competition?
Yeah.
Why?
You know,
I mean, I'm getting really fed up with Riley Mills.
well, I mean, I understand. And I'm not saying I disagree. Yeah, Riley Mills' production in practice seems to be outdoing on the field. I will say someone that's really impressed me that, I mean, I knew would be good, but I didn't expect to be good this year is Joshua Burnham.
Yes.
I've been very impressed with him.
Didn't like the late hit. Didn't like the late hit that he had. That was kind of that he should have just pulled off on that. But
yeah, I mean, Freeman said, yeah, they're not getting the sacks, which is fine. We're bottom in sacks, but we're getting the pressure. We're getting pressure on the quarterback every play.
But I would like to see them actually get a quarterback down.
My problem is these fumbles. There's been about 4 or 5 fumbles on the ground this year that Notre Dame has not been able to recover yet. Turnovers need to happen. I want to see something. But yeah, I mean, it was a sloppy game against Central Michigan. I was glad it was over. It felt like they were trying to injure Sam Hartman. It was pissing me off. And the tackling was poor. Penalties, is like he said, was correct.
There were a lot of those penalties. Like there were some bad calls by the refs, but there were some penalties that were like, "What are you doing, man?" Like Riley Mills had a late hit too, and it's like he's this far from the quarterback after he throws the ball, and he's like what, dude? What are you doing? Like, and the thing is, like, this will be our last thing on Central Michigan. If the defensive line worries me a little bit, I still have concerns about the D line. If Notre Dame wants to go where they want to go and win a national title, that defensive line has to get better. And I don't know what you have to do, but I like to see Brennan Vernon get some run. I don't know why he's not played at all. Single snap. Okay.
Yeah, he played against Tennessee State late, and he also played against. He played one more game for very little though, but he's been.
But in my opinion, if Riley Mills is not doing his damn job, and is just a no-show, why do I have him out there if he's not going to do anything in the stat sheet? I mean,
I'm okay with still having him there for just his presence. I think the thing for me with the D-line is, yes, I agree. That's probably my only worry. I love our linebackers, defensive backs, offensive line, receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. Yeah. Even tight ends worry me a little, but they've been actually playing decent. But, yeah, my biggest worry is defensive line. But I think the Baptiste has looked outstanding.
Yep.
I think
Jordan Botello has kind of been a little bit of a
too.
He hasn't
interior.
Been
Interior is where I'm a little nervous. I like how Jason Anya has been playing, but they need to rotate Rubio in. Now that Rubio's back this weekend, I'm interested to see how he plays. So,
all right, we'll move on.
Here we go. We've been waiting for
the final thing that everyone's here. The Ohio State preview. It is here. What a game. Notre Dame will be taking on the 6th-ranked Buckeyes at home under the lights in South Bend in the green out. I will be there with the Week Zero podcast boys. Anyways, let's go through positional groups when we're talking about Ohio State and Notre Dame. Let's start with the coaching. Coming into this game, who has the better head coach, Sean?
Okay, head coach, I'm going to say Freeman. He's the player's coach. Assistant coaches, Laurinaitis, Hartline, I might give to Ohio State when it comes to the assistant coaches.
Yep.
But head coach, Freeman, just because he's a player's coach. I think who wouldn't rather play than Freeman than, I mean.
And one thing with Freeman is, like, we talked about it before, his teams tend to play down, like overlook a teams. But on the flip side of that, Marcus Freeman teams have always seemed to come out strong against top tier competition. That's kind of like a gift and a curse with this team is, like, if we're playing Central Michigan, we'll come out and play like crap for like the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're playing Ohio State, North Carolina, BYU, Clemson last year, we'll come out and we'll punch him in the mouth.
Yeah, and I mean Freeman too. I mean 9-4 last year, was tied best record with like 2 or 3 other coaches in their first year at Notre Dame in history. And I mean everyone started when they were 1-2, then they lost to Stanford. People were like, this is gonna suck, right? And I mean they still finished strong. They beat a ranked South Carolina in the bowl game. Now they're here, another year under him. Offensive coordinator is Gerard Parker has really impressed me. Did not know, and I respect you, sir. You have looked, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have Sam Hartman at quarterback, but you have looked miles ahead of the play caller as than Tom Rees.
He's better than Tommy Rees.
Yeah, so, and it proves at Alabama, right, with Buckner and Rees. But what about quarterback?
Yeah, so we'll move on. I in the head coaching thing, I think Ryan Day gets the nod just because of the seniority.
Yeah.
He's been to 3 college football playoffs, so I think you got to give him that. But with quarterback, I think it's Sam Hartman. I've seen Ohio State fans on Twitter that are smoking God knows what, that Kyle McCord is better than CJ Stroud and is better than Sam Hartman. And that even if there are some Ohio States fans that think Sam Hartman is better than Kyle McCord, their reasoning is that, well, of course Sam Hartman's better than him. He's in his 6th year. Why wouldn't he? I would hope he'd be better than Kyle McCord. But even if it wasn't his 6th year, Sam Hartman's been a better quarterback since his freshman year than Kyle McCord has been. So I think Sam Hartman, I think there's no discussion about this.
Yeah, Sam Hartman by a mile. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception for McCord all this season. 15 total touchdowns, no interceptions for Hartman this year. I mean, I think it's Hartman. The presence he has, he can throw the ball to anybody. Yeah, Hartman.
Yeah. And then we'll go to wide receivers. Who has the better wide receiver room?
This isn't even a question. Ohio State by a landslide. By a landslide. You have one of the best and Marvin Harrison Jr. prospects for wide receiver to enter the NFL in the last 5 to 10 years. Like, he's going to be a stud, a Justin Jefferson type receiver, right? Yeah. He's outstanding. Brian Hartline coaching all these 5-star talents. Yeah, we got Greathouse, Tyree. I saw a post by like CBS posting which best receiver on each team is going to do better this weekend. Marvin Harrison or Chris Tyree. And I was just like,
Chris Tyree's our best receiver.
So, I mean, Tyree's look great, but it's receiver by a landslide. And if Notre Dame fans can live in fairy tale land and say that we have better receivers, I mean, yeah, I love our receivers. I wouldn't want to trade them for anything in the world right now. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm going Marvin Harrison all day.
I think outside of Ibuka and Harrison, though, I think Jaden Greathouse is better than the other receivers in that room.
He's not going to play as much as a Thomas, Tyree. He'll play. He'll rotate in. But, I mean, he's not going to play as consistent as them in this game.
But I don't think that it's fair to say, like I've seen Ohio State fans say that Carnell Tate is better than anyone on Notre Dame's receiving core. And I'm like, okay, what evidence have you seen? Because Jaden Greathouse is out here putting up 3 touchdown passes in 4 games. I think Carnell Tate has like 3 catches on the season for no touchdowns. Like, okay. Like, Carnell Tate wouldn't even probably start at Notre Dame. He'd probably
Carnell Tate, though, is an amazing talent.
Yes, yeah.
I think he's a great player. And I do want to say that, yes, he only has 3 catches. But I don't know if you know this, but, I mean, he's got personal stuff going on. I think his mom just passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did a GoFundMe, and I think his mom passed away. So I understand him not being as ready this year when he's got that going.
Yeah, I just don't think it's fair to completely trash Notre Dame's wide receiver room and say that Carnell Tate would be the number 1 receiver at Notre Dame this year. Like that.
If you told me before the season, Greathouse or Carnell Tate, I would have picked Carnell Tate. Personally.
What about now?
I am happy with Greathouse. I love Greathouse. That's not saying
Well, you know what? Ohio State wanted Greathouse really bad. Like, people forget that.
Flores.
They wanted both Flores and Greyhouse.
I know
I
that
got
they
Ohio
ran out of room, so that's why Flores went to Notre Dame.
But either way, I think you got to give that to Ohio State. So that's 2 points Ohio State, 1 point Notre Dame. Now let's move on to the running back room.
Well, I picked coaching.
Oh yeah, so you got 2-1 Notre Dame. I got 2-1 Ohio State. Let's go running back room. Who has the better running back room?
Starting running back, Henderson. Henderson's really
Really?
good.
You think he's better than Estime?
I think they're two completely different running backs. I think Estime is better at what he does than Henderson. Henderson's better, but I think Henderson will be a starter in the NFL one day, while Estime will probably be a rotational guy coming in a lot. I
disagree. I think Estime could be the next Derrick Henry with the way he runs.
It's tough. I mean, I love both rooms are so deep. If I had to go off of rooms, total rooms, not just one running back, Notre Dame's depth at running back is just second to none, right? You got Estime, Love, Price, Payne, right?
Ford.
Well, Ford's got a concussion. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna pick Ohio State just off. Sorry, man. This is probably the hardest one for me to choose from. Was the running back position. I think Estime's a game changer, right? Because Hartman we don't have to rely on Hartman as much. He can bully his way for 5 yards.
Estime is damn near averaging 9 yards a carry.
Estime will be more of a threat in this game than Henderson, but I like Henderson. I'm gonna give. I'm gonna give Ohio State.
All right, so you're at 2-2. I'm still at 2-1, but I'm giving this win Notre Dame. I think Audric Estime is right now the best running back in college football, which is weird. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, who were two guys that you probably originally have ranked ahead of Audric Estime, those guys have struggled mightily out of the gate behind that 2-time Joe Moore award-winning line. But yeah, man, I think Audric Estime right now is the best back in all of college football.
I love Audric Estime.
Dude, they got him as a sleeper for Heisman.
Now. I did see that. And you know what's crazy is rewind a bit, Notre Dame fans. I will say the biggest recruiting loss that I've ever been upset about. So my favorite commit that I've ever gotten was Chris Tyree.
Yeah.
And then my least favorite part was I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh, my least favorite was Shipley. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Shipley. When we lost on Shipley and then we got Diggs, who would have thought Estime would be better than Shipley, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Estime is honestly, Will Shipley's really good. Like, no disrespect to Will Shipley, but I think Audric Estime is better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if you go like you said, top to bottom, Notre Dame's got the better running back core. I think Jeremiah Love, in of himself, is going to be a better running back than Audric Estime and Travion Henderson once he gets his opportunity. The kid just shows flashes, man. He reminds me so much of Josh Adams.
I like Price better than Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love reminds me so much.
Especially pre-injury.
Jeremiah Love just reminds me so much of like that Reggie Bush type running back, or that like a guy that's really fast, agile, and can juke you out of your shoes. Like, that's what Jeremiah Love reminds me of.
So I'm guessing we're 2-2 right now, right?
Yeah, we're at 2-2. Next up, offensive line. Do we even really need to talk about this?
Yeah, Ohio State has some of the worst offensive linemen in college football right now. Notre Dame has some of the best. I bet we agree. Next.
So we're at 3-2, both Notre Dame. Next up, we got secondary.
You skipped tight end.
Oh yeah. Okay, tight end. Who's got the best tight end room?
Notre Dame, tight end.
What about Cade Stover?
Give me Notre Dame.
Okay, I'll take Notre Dame too. So that's 4-2 Notre Dame. We'll go to the defensive side of the ball now. D-line.
D-line, you go first on that one.
I'll go Ohio State on this one. I think that's the strength of their defense. They're actually third in total defense this year so far. I know they haven't played anybody, but I think Ohio State's got the better D-line.
By a mile. Yeah.
So, what is this? 4-3?
Linebacker, I would go – I think that's pretty even. I might go even there.
So half point? Half point, we'll just do a half point.
I mean, I'm going to say that Ohio State's linebackers, I think, are better in terms of talent, but our seniority of our linebackers and experience is extremely important for this game. So,
all right, so 4.5 to 3.5. What about the secondary? We'll start with the corners. Who has the better corners? Notre Dame. Yeah. Best secondary in the country, I think.
Yeah, this is the best secondary in Notre Dame history. I'm going to say that.
Whoa, okay.
Most talented group in Notre Dame history.
So, yeah, I'm going the same way, so that means 6.5 to 4.5. And then finally, what about safety?
I give me Notre Dame.
Okay, yeah, I'll take Notre Dame. So 7.5 to 4.5. That's where we fin things. So real quick, Sean, what are your keys to the game for Notre Dame? If you had to give me some keys, what does Notre Dame have to do in this game to beat Ohio State?
I'll give you 3 offensively, 3 defensively.
Okay.
Defensively, they need to force a turnover, right? They need to swing some type of momentum ship like Clemson, Benjamin Morrison, pick 6. Turnover is is a must. Yes, Marvin Harrison will be tough, obviously. I mean, he's amazing. Getting pressure on the quarterback with that offensive line. That's a big one, right?
Yep.
Getting pressure on the quarterback. And then my last key for defenses is securing 3rd and longs, right? We don't want to be in situations where they're third and short, keep getting it. 3rd and longs, forcing a turnover, and getting pressure on the quarterback. Offensively, not turning the ball over. I'm not going to use that as one, but yeah, obviously. We need to rely on Audric Estime and use Hartman when needed. It shouldn't be a Hartman game the whole game, right?
Yep.
Keep using Estime, etc. Protecting Sam Hartman's my second key. We need to protect Sam Hartman. And then 3rd key is seeing how these receivers can create separation against a really good group of defensive backs.
Before you go on to your defensive one, let me kind of talk about your 3 keys for the offense.
I already gave my defensive.
Oh, okay. One thing real quick about, facing Ohio State. I have a weird feeling going into this game that Ohio State's going to play like they did last year against us. They're not going to respect our receivers until we beat them deep. So my expectation is what they're probably going to do is they're going to expect, like kind of what you said, for Notre Dame to ride Audric Estime. And I think they're going to game plan against that. And Ohio State's going to start the game by stacking the box and playing man-to-man.
Yeah. And if they do that, right, Notre Dame throws the ball, then they have to play against the receivers, less people against the box, Estime getting more yards.
So that's why I think I have a weird feeling that Notre Dame's going to come out in that first drive and they're going to surprise everyone and air it out, like in the first couple of plays. I don't like it because it doesn't fit, but I think I think what they're going to do is Marcus Freeman's going to come out there and he's going to see, all right, Sam, they're playing man-to-man, they're stacking the box. Play action to Tobias, Tyree, or somebody. Because I think that's all. Ohio State is going to sit there and they are not going to respect Notre Dame until Notre Dame gets them for a big play.
Oh, I'm ready.
I am too. And I think that also plays into Notre Dame's strength because Sam Hartman throws one of the best deep balls in all of college football.
God, I love Sam Hartman. I love
Audric. All right. Overall, we'll get out of here after this. What is your score prediction for this game, Sean? Does Notre Dame get the monumental upset over the Ohio State Buckeyes?
I have never been more confident in a Notre Dame top 10 ranked game besides playing a USC or Stanford. I think that this big game, Notre Dame wins 34-28. I think it's going to be a great game. It ain't going to be a 2-score win for Notre Dame. It's coming down to the wire. But Notre Dame is going to win this game. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I got Notre Dame winning 38-28. I think the key in this game is the difference in the quarterbacks. Sam Hartman is not going to well, hold on. Let me find a piece of wood real quick. It's metal, but whatever. I don't have a piece of wood by me. Thank you. All right. Sam Hartman is not a quarterback that's going to make a costly mistake to cost you the game. Kyle McCord, I think that his inexperience being on the road away from home,
Green jerseys, green out with the wristbands.
I have a weird suspicion that it's going to be 38-28 with like 4 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go in the game. Kyle McCord and Ohio State are driving, and Kyle McCord makes a big mistake and throws a pick straight to Benjamin Morrison to seal the game.
Yes,
and then we get to see this again. In his pocket, got him in his pocket, and I think that's what ends up sealing the victory for Notre Dame as a Benjamin Morrison pick.
So I love it. I love it. I think for me, this is the difference. It's Notre Dame led until the fourth quarter pretty much against Ohio State last year with Tyler Buchner at Ohio State.
Yep.
This year they're at home. They're not facing as good of a quarterback as Stroud. They're playing an inexperienced quarterback. We have an experienced quarterback at home, green out, green things, green little wristbands. I love it.
Yep.
And Ohio State's offensive line's terrible. Even if our defensive line's not good, we should still get some pressure, right, with our linebackers.
Yeah, this might be the worst offensive line we face all year.
Yes. So, and then think about it in this context. Audrey Estimea running back, a great O-line, great young receivers, great quarterback, great defensive backs, great linebacker core. That's a recipe for success. Notre Dame wins this game.
I completely agree, man. I completely agree. And anyways, guys, that has been our prediction for the Ohio State week. Sean, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
What are your keys to victories?
So my key, I kind of got the same things you do. My thing is just I want to go out there and punch Ohio State in the mouth. I want a play kind of like we did against Clemson in 2020 where Kyron Williams takes the first snap to the house. I want a blocked punt like we had against Clemson last year for a touchdown. I want, hey, start the game with a pick six by Benjamin Morrison to start the game. That would be, could you imagine like Notre Dame
have Riley Mills force a fumble and recover for a touchdown.
Okay. If Riley Mills does that, I'm telling you right now, I will leave Notre Dame Stadium after that game. I will go to a tattoo parlor and I will get Riley Mills tattooed on my arm if he gets a strip sack for a touchdown. I am not joking. You can clip that. That's how confident I am that will not happen. I hope it does, but it's not going to. But
does Riley Mills have to score? Or what if he strip sacks?
And strip sack, then I'll do it. And I'll do it live on stream too. I will make sure I'll go do it. So yeah, could you imagine how electric that building would be if Notre Dame defers the toss? Ohio State starting at their 25-yard line.
I hope they get the ball. I'm torn because I want to start strong, but I want the ball to
start. I want the ball after halftime, to be honest. But they're starting at the 25-yard line. Kyle McCord's dropping back against the student section. Loud, Notre Dame environment. Pick six, Benjamin Morrison of the house to start the game. Could you imagine how insane that crowd would go? Like they went insane for the Clemson blocked punt for a touchdown. But could you imagine
if Notre Dame wins this, they're going to storm the field. But my question is this. I'm hoping, because I'm going to the game, if Notre Dame beats USC, are we going to storm the field?
Yes. Because
Really?
it's USC. Yes.
I mean, I was worried about that. I was like, I hope they let us storm the field.
Dude, I'll storm the field twice. Because if we beat Ohio State, we're storming the field. And then USC, I might storm the field a third time if we beat Clemson. Just because.
You'll be the only one on the field.
You might see me on the. Well, we got one Notre Dame fan.
We got a streaker on the field right now with a Riley Mills tattoo.
That Riley Mills tattoo. All right, Sean. Anyways, this is a great episode. Irish, just go out there and absolutely smack those Buckeyes. Please. We will, like I said, me and the Week Zero podcast boys will be there from South Bend live. If you are tuning in right now, please go to Week Zero Productions on YouTube. Subscribe, turn those post notifications on. If you're watching on Twitter, please do the same. We will be live 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Go turn your post notifications on. We will have a special live Week Zero podcast episode live from South Bend with special guest picker, 2024 wide receiver recruit, a Notre Dame commit, 4-star Logan Zaldate. Please go do that. Make sure you guys do that. And as always, this has been the Gold Standard with your host, Ryan Fravel, with my co-host, Sean at ND Forever on Twitter. Go follow us each on Twitter, and we will see you guys next week after the huge win against Ohio State. But as always, guys, God bless, go Irish, and beat the Bucs.